The Homestead is a living learning community at Denison University that was created almost 50 years ago. The 50th anniversary is in 2027. And it's a place that fosters community and sustainable living practices and really, really awesome people to be able to live together on an off-campus option at Denison. The only off-campus option at Denison. But it's behind the recycling plant, and there's a big, long dirt slash gravel road that leads up to a sign that says "We," which was made by a artist years and years and years ago, and it like symbolizes the community and the "we" aspect of what the homestead is. And then there's a big field which always is like crawling with creatures and deer, and there's turkey sometimes, and groundhogs, and little bunnies, and stray cats sometimes. And then you eventually turn the corner, and there's the homestead, and there's a tool shed, and the garden, and Bob, which I mentioned earlier, is like our communal space, and then the two living buildings, which are Atlas and Phoenix, as well as Cabin 1, which was one of the original homestead buildings, but it's not up to living standards. You wouldn't want to live in there. So yeah, and then there's a whole bunch of trees and land and all the good stuff surrounding it, and the stars are really awesome, and there's no light pollution, and it's pretty good.
And that walk in the morning is a really great start. Gets your heart going, gets your mind going. You can think stuff out. Definitely keeps the serotonin up. Just seeing green, just seeing the color green, and bees and flowers and deer and the orchard and all the little artifacts down the hill. The road sign with bullets shot up in it, 72 calibers, like real big holes. The chicken coop, grass overgrowing. The groundhog that lives across down the hole right over there in front of my room. I see him every morning. Little shitter. The 50 stink bugs. You can kind of see them up there. There's not too many right now, but they always go up by those windows. It's grounding, you know. There's no fluorescent lights. And you got 20-year-olds chopping their own wood, making fires every night, doing whatever God knows what they want to do out here. Away from the eye of authority. It's definitely closer to the heart here. The community is strong because it has to be. We got to work together, do shit. But there's no strangers.
So every Friday we have community dinners, which are open invite to anyone on campus. We cook a homemade vegetarian meal, and we do it in our main common space called Bob. Everything in there is named Bob, and it's all done on a wood-fired stove, and it's a really great place where you can go and meet new people. All of the homesteaders are there, and it's just a really great place where you can go and expect community and get a free home-cooked meal, it be good, and have like a little bit of vegetarian food and options on campus.
I personally feel that homestead dinners are a pretty important part of our existence as a campus institution, because that's like the main time that we bring in people to our space, and provide them with a meal and company, and it's always a great time. People leave feeling like they've connected with the homestead and feeling like they've connected with the student body more than if they went out to like a frat that night.
I don't know. I think the dinners that we've had this semester have maybe been like a little bit more chaotic.
We definitely communicate pretty well. I think the real issue is academics. Like the first 4 or 5 weeks here, we had all the time in the world, so we were doing everything, and then suddenly we all had essays every other night, I mean, this past month, I've been really just been coming here to sleep and shower.
It's like there's a level of disconnect here where it's like you're living on the homestead. You're doing like a lot of the tasks that are usually done for you, but you're still going to Denison University. You're still probably a decently wealthy college kid, and like I think a lot of people still see this as like dorm life.
I mean, we have no water pressure, and no one's taking the liberty to do their dishes anymore. So for a good month, there's just a rotting pile of them, and it just smelled like mold all the time, and we had some mice and shit. And I was just kind of done. You know, I had my own shit going on.
I think it is like a culture of slacking on chores, at least this semester. From what I've heard from people who were living here before, I think like it really is the second that someone kind of slacks on their chores, other people feel less inclined to do their chores because it's like, why am I doing this work when this other person isn't putting their share in? I want to live on like a commune kind of deal my whole life, and I still do. And I think it's the best way for a person to live. I think we're social creatures, and I think we need to live socially. But if this semester taught me anything, it's that it is very hard for people to do very easy tasks, which sucks.
Over last summer, there was a new person who was supposed to be looking over the homestead, and she neglected to do so in a decent manner. That's what I'll say. And that led to all the chickens starving to death, and the cats who lived here being locked in one of the dorm halls. I think it was Atlas. You know, a couple weeks later, some people came out here to check out the homestead with a reimagining project. And, you know, they came back to a bunch of dead chickens and a bunch of cat piss in Atlas, or Bob, or whatever it was. And they said, oh, the students must have done this. And I honestly don't know why we got blamed. I guess I wasn't there at the time, but they took the cats from us. They put them up for adoption. We've not been able to get them back. So, yeah, I mean, it's just another example of the university, you know, taking away our privileges, taking away our independence, feeling like they can't trust us when it wasn't really our fault. So.
We have these things called work parties where we do like weekly chores. We do like one a week, and that's when we do like a lot of shit. But for the most part, in terms of like daily or like a couple of times a week chores, we had 2, and now we have 1. Because here's the thing, chickens was probably the most important chore that we had, but I also think it was one of the easiest.
All that amounted to was feeding them, you know, cleaning out their sawdust, and putting them in at night and taking them out in the morning. Of all those tasks, the one most important aspect of taking care of the chickens is to put them in at night. And within the first 2 weeks? 2 weeks?
Yeah. 2 weeks.
One of the homies neglected to do so.
So at the beginning of the semester, we had 3 chickens. At the current moment, we have 0 chickens. And that is because of 2 terrible, horrible incidents where our chickens were lazily left outside, and all 3 tragically were taken away into the night or slaughtered in the coop. And like, I was the person who discovered them both times. I'm not a big fan of dead things. I don't think anyone is, or like dead beings. The chicken might have done something, because once like you've killed 3 chickens, it's kind of hard to like, I don't know, to like keep like going. As the homestead has gone along, like the way it started was a completely isolated operation from Denison University. It was just students and I think like 1 or 2 professors who made this project on their own and had a lot more freedom and a lot less oversight. And I think that breeds a lot more action. And it also is because the people who were living here at the time, like, kind of had a higher threshold of wanting to live here. I mean, there was no hot water. There was no like connection to campus. People who first started living here had to build their own cabin. Like for because of that, the people who wanted to live here were much more active in living here.
We had 12 people living here over the summer. I think the summerstead is like so important because it allows people to just focus on the homestead. Like we were taking care of chickens, we were growing stuff in the garden, we were chopping wood every day to like because in order to have enough wood for the winter, like chopped and whatever, like if you're actually chopping the wood out there, you have to start in the summer. And so we're chopping, stacking wood, like we were doing everything in the summer. And that, I think, really, when we got around to the fall, then we had 12 new people. We could just like hit the ground running and start going and like already be like planning and having, I don't know. We had so many like parties and events and like really cool, fun things like in the fall. But I think it was just because we had the whole summer where like we didn't have as many responsibilities where we could actually like focus on the homestead, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think that. And then later, once we got into the next spring, we also had 12 people here. And that was also just like a really special time.
But yeah, I think you got to put faith in your students because this place has been working out pretty well for 50 years now, nearly 50 years. And it's just marginally getting better every year. It's definitely grown very far away from sustainability. It's really a place of hedonism or an escape, at least from my experience, people I've lived with, all the reasons we came here.
And I think as time has gone on, as we've become more and more connected with campus, and as a lot of that requirement has gone away, I mean, like even I moved here, like, I mean, I'm interested in sustainability. I think the Homestead's mission is an important mission, and I agree with it. But like at the end of the day, I moved here because like I think it's pretty out here, and that comes with a lot less drive to make change than it did originally.
I do want to talk about the sustainability of this place. Wood burning is actually the most carbon inefficient way of like getting any type of energy. So technically speaking, this place is extremely unsustainable.
You know, I'd say it's probably 40, 50 acres. And they cut down 20 of them to put in this solar field, which I get that it's for a good cause, but, you know, I mean, if you walk out there, there are, you know, hundreds of trees that have been cut down, just completely leveled the space. There's, like, not even grass growing in there from the machines they use to dig everything up. I mean, it's just heartbreaking to see as someone who considers themselves like an environmentalist. Like, you know, do the ends always justify the means? I don't know. I mean, it's just hard for me not to think about the like ecological damage that has done. And I get that the alternative, you know, natural gas or coal or whatever, you know, that would also be ecologically bad. It would be ecologically worse, but you know. It's a little bit different when it's like in your backyard.
I mean, they got to cut a lot of trees. That's really unfortunate. It was devastating how much they cut down. There's just a lot of animals in that area. And it was pretty unprecedented to us, especially, you know, even Tom Henshaw, who was kind of leading the projects. At least he was the one facilitating our knowledge of it. And he had no idea that was happening. But it is the largest solar panel of any Ohio school. It's a big deal for Denison.
It is hard, like getting up and being like, oh, I have to do Earl, and then walking out and seeing like 20 acres of trees cut down. And I'm not even like against the project because, I don't know, we've had conversations with a lot of people, and it is a useful project, and like that specific land that has been cut down is like the energy like maximizing place to put solar panels at Denison's campus. Like there is a reason why they didn't just use the field, and like it is going to potentially provide Denison a lot of like green energy, but I don't know, it feels like Denison is currently involved in a lot of like rush development.
No, I mean, the current plan for the Homestead is that by my senior year, so 2027, it's going to be completely shut down. They're doing it for its 50th anniversary. They're sunsetting it.
So the homestead is not in itself, like, how we see it and how we have it on our campus now is sunsetting is the term they have chosen to use. But that does not mean we don't know what the future like implications are for the homestead, so we don't know if it will still be a residential space, if it will turn into like a eco hub, community living area. Like, we just don't know. I don't even know all the possible options.
It will not be the same as it was at all, because the current thought, from what I've heard, is that they're going to be putting in like almost like a neighborhood, like several different houses that are focused on like sustainable living, but effectively they're still going to be dorms. So I think that's an exciting prospect. I just don't think that they should shut down the homestead in general, you know?
We've been told many times by like everyone involved that we don't really have a say. Like, everything that's going to happen is going to happen because the administration decides that it needed to happen, and it's because that was probably like the most economic decision. But I don't know. I do think people here care about this place, at least in some like theoretical way, and I do think they'd be willing to like put in work to make sure that like no matter what the administration decides, we've at least like made it known what we would like to happen, because that's really all we can do.
So the institution of Denison is definitely interfering with the homestead. They provide us with a lot of support in a lot of ways, but ultimately Denison is headed down a path of more control. Control of what students do in their day-to-day life. I mean, you see it in how clubs manage their stuff. You see it with the party scene. Everything is regulated. I mean, the homestead is just the last bastion of that. I mean, you know, we're given a lot more freedom than other res halls, but that doesn't mean that we have the same liberties as people did in, let's say, you know, the 90s. If you get enough people out here that are actually committed to, you know, seeing this space stay as it is and stay independent from Denison, you know, that would be great. But ultimately, people don't have the money, people have other stuff going on. Most people are ultimately too apathetic to the homestead. I mean, we're seeing numbers go down. You know, this semester we have 8 people living here. Next semester we'll have 6. They're struggling to even find people this semester.
I don't know how the campus is going to shift. A big issue right now is that there's not much like news and awareness about the homestead through like an administrative perspective to prospective students and current students. So this has kind of like stirred, like made ripples in the water, which has made more people like know and find out about the homestead in itself. So I think just knowing that it's going to disappear will in itself be an interesting shift to how it's viewed on campus.
Shutting down the homestead actually has a wider, huge negative effect on Denison culture in the first place, because I think that people who are interested in sustainability and art and I don't know, just the challenges of like being alive or thinking about how we can exist in the environment in a communal way where we like love each other. Like, I think those are really difficult questions, and the only way you can actually learn that is by experiencing it firsthand. And I think that the like living here, like I said earlier, is like an amazing privilege that it is incredibly sad that Denison students won't get to do. But I think that the negative ripple effect will only I think kind of make it more difficult for people to think critically, challenge themselves, experience new things, have conversations that might be difficult, like all of that stuff. All that stuff I think is like really lumped together. Living with other people and learning to like work through conflict, like all of those like difficult challenges like really kind of shaped me into the person I am today, and I'm so grateful for it to have the opportunity to kind of live in this like community thing. And it's very, very sad to me that the Denison students of the future won't get that opportunity.
Never go